Mighty companions, and welcome back to Transforming Relationships Through A Course in Miracles with the Quinns.
Anna and Greg and Holy Spirit Quinn.
Yes. So, what we do on Sunday evenings is we ask Spirit to choose for us where and what in A Course in Miracles that it knows we need to study. And then we go to the random number generator app, and what it chose for us today is chapter 3, section 11 in the original edition, which is called The Unshakable Foundation. In the edited version of A Course in Miracles, it is in chapter 3, section 7, and it's called Creating versus the Self-Image. And that is in the details of the class. So.
And that was in chapter 7 of the
blue book? No, chapter 3.
Section 7.
Yes. It's 3:7 in the blue book. And it's 3:11 in the original edition, which our version of the original edition is the purple. There's also one that has a black cover with string of white pearls. There's a few versions of the original edition, which means without the 45,000 words that were taken out of this version. So this book was edited and 45,000 words were taken out. And then this is one version of the original dictation that also has a lot of Helen Schuckman's handwritten notes and also a lot of notations from Robert Perry. So.
And what's the blue book
title? It's called Creating.
The blue book, is that called
Creating
Circle of Atonement? Or?
No, that's called the Foundation for Inner Peace, FIP book. The blue book, this is produced by the Foundation for Inner Peace. That's the edited one. This one, this particular version of the original was put together by Robert Perry, Circle of Atonement. And this one is Foundation for Inner Peace. All right. So.
That lady in class, I actually think we're going to move over.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I actually got her frustration. I always remember, like, growing up, it wasn't A Course in Miracles, it was a different book. But
there were different editions and versions.
There were different versions and editions, and you never knew the teacher when they were reading if they were going to read out of the edition that you bought. And of course, when they don't, it's frustrating, and it's part of the ego's way of doing things.
Well, any excuse will do. Any excuse will do for the ego to not to pay attention to the Course in Miracles. They don't care.
Right.
Any excuse will do.
Well,
and I was so grateful that it, that. Anyway, okay. So again, we're in chapter 3, section 11 in the original edition. And it's chapter 3, section 7 in the Foundation for Inner Peace version. And the original title is called The Unshakable Foundation. Okay? Would you like to experience having an unshakable foundation for your peace of mind? Wouldn't that be great? Well, this is going to talk about what is your unshakable foundation, okay, in peace. The first paragraph of the original section was completely edited out. So as we read the first paragraph, you will not see this in your blue covered edition. So just know that if you're following along, the first paragraph will not be in this book, but it is in the original. All right. But in the blue book, your paragraph 1 is paragraph 2 here in the original. All right? Okay. Just in case that was not confusing enough.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
In the ego world, even truth has to come through the filter of confusion, because that's what
we
the
understand.
ego world is confusion.
And when the ego encounters simple truth, the ego says, this is too complex.
Right.
I can't understand it. But when the ego encounters what's complex and not understandable, the ego goes, oh, I get this.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Even though it's totally retarded.
Yes, totally illogical, totally doesn't make any sense. That makes sense to the ego. But when the ego confronts truth, it says, this is too complex, I don't understand. Okay. So, the unshakable foundation. It is essential that this whole authority problem be voluntarily dismissed once and for all. Has anybody ever told you that you have an authority problem? I'm sure most people watching this at some point in their life have been accused of having an authority problem. And
think about it, when we first hear this, if we're being honest, at least for myself, Anna was reading this in the car as we're driving home. We had done the random number generator prayer in the car. And of course, when she was like, we need to deal with this authority problem. And my immediate reaction is, that's for sure. But I'm thinking about the world.
Everybody else's authority problem.
I'm not dialing in so much myself. I certainly recognize that this world has an authority problem. And but as she continued reading, I guess it was Spirit really dealing with me, saying, listen, to wake up, Greg, to really wake up in this course, is you need to apply these personally to you. You, Greg, for real, just being honest, that's why this material was written. The truth came at you, and the truth is, Greg, you have an authority problem. And then when I start looking at just me, I'm like, well, I don't really see that. And that's the problem. We don't see that. We don't realize how severe our authority problem is. It's what started everything.
That's exactly right. And of course, in Miracles is telling us that it is essential that this whole authority problem be voluntarily dismissed once and for all. Why? Because you do not understand how important doing this is for your sanity. So yeah, we don't realize how important voluntarily giving up our authority problem is to our sanity. You want to be sane, you want to experience sanity, you want to experience sane people, you want to be sane and have sane people around you. It comes from looking at and dismissing voluntarily your authority problem. Okay? And then it's going to tell us, and the reason that it's essential that we do this, the reason we don't understand how important this is for our sanity is because we are quite insane on this point. Like, for instance, it says you have an authority problem. You go, me? What are you talking about? Just because I want to be right all the time, just because I don't want anybody telling me what's going on. I want to be the one telling people what's going on. Just because of that, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I want to be the one interpreting everything. Being the one that says, this is what's happening with this side
what's going on
of this issue, or this side of that matter, or the decisions that should be made about this. And
what this means.
I have a logical opinion, and I think it should be validated.
Yeah, in other words, I want to be the authority. I assume I am an authority, and anybody who questions my authority and says, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm going to be mightily offended.
And see, a lot of us grew up, just like Anna and myself, we grew up in two different belief systems, but a lot of those belief systems, we came up thinking that when you hear that we have an authority problem, is that old projection of what God is that wrathful God, that we have an authority problem, that God says, don't drink too much wine or whatever, and I probably had too much wine last night, oh my gosh. And that's not the authority problem at all. The authority problem is totally different.
And we're going to hear what that is.
We're going to hear what that is.
But whatever it is, apparently we're completely insane when it comes to this authority problem that we're going to have to voluntarily give up if we're going to have our own sanity restored in our minds. Okay? And you want to be sane because when you're insane, it's chaotic. And when you're insane, there's a lot of drama and a lot of pain, and it's chaotic. It's not peaceful. Insanity equals not peaceful, right? I don't know if you've noticed that. But it says, what?
Got a couple comments.
Oh, okay, great.
It's funny. Tricia says, "Hello, Sanity," and hi, Bridget. She's host the Worm.
And hi, Rhonda.
And Demi. I don't have my glasses.
Demi says it's a protection mechanism, and Demi says oftentimes things turn out better when we let go. That's exactly right. The authority problem is the idea that I do know what's going on, and I know enough to judge, and anybody who questions that is not my friend.
Right.
And then also it's going to go on to talk more about what the authority problem is, but there's a direct connection between looking at and dismissing our authority problem and our sanity. That's the first thing that we need to hear in the first paragraph. Now, the fact that we are quite insane on the point about the authority problem, this is not a judgment. It is merely a fact. This is your insanity. You're insane because you think you're the authority and you want to be the authority. You want to be God. That is the core of our problem. I want to be God. I want to say what reality is for myself and everybody. I want to believe I've created myself and everybody else.
And again, that's hard to accept that that's me. That I want to be God. Mm-hmm. If somebody were to say that to me, I'd be highly offended. Mm-hmm. Like, that is not true. Mm-hmm. Well, then why do you have an opinion about everything?
Mm-hmm. That's right. And then act like your opinion is the truth. You know that we think that we're always right because we act like our opinions are beyond question.
Right.
And if somebody dares to go, I don't know about that, we're like, well,
you question my authority?
How dare you? Don't you know I know everything? So we may say, I don't think I'm God. I don't act like I know everything, but that's what judgment is. That's what judgment is. It's me acting like I know enough to judge, which is saying it's me playing God, thinking that I am God, wanting to be God. And that's where all of our insanity starts. That's where all of our insanity starts. Okay? And so the idea that you are quite insane around your authority problem is not a judgment, it's merely a fact. It is just as much a fact as God is a fact. A fact is literally a, quote, making or a starting point. You do start from this insane point of thinking that you are God and that you know enough to judge. You do start from this insane vantage point, and all your thinking is inverted because of your authority problem, which means your insanity. So that's our starting point is, I'm God, I'm the authority, I know enough to judge, and I know what's going on here, and anybody who doesn't see that is stupid, okay? That's our starting point, and because of this insane starting point, all of our thinking is upside down and backwards, okay? That's paragraph number 1. Now, it starts in paragraph 2 in the original edition is paragraph number 1 in the Foundation for Inner Peace book. Okay?
Now we're all together.
Now we're all together now. Every system of thought must have a starting point. Every system of thought begins either with a making or a creating, a difference which we have already covered. Both systems of belief, the one that's made and the one that's created, both of those systems of belief are acts of will, except that making involves doing, while creating involves active willing. The resemblance of these two thought systems lies in their power as foundations. So you got two systems of thought here, one that was made up and by us and one that was created by God, the real authority.
And both set their power on one or the other's foundation.
Yeah, exactly. And the power of both of these thought systems, they resemble each other because both thought systems have power.
Right.
Okay?
And that's why I wanted to emphasize their power.
They both have power as thought systems because every system of thought has power for the thinker or the believer.
Right.
It may not have power in reality, but it certainly has power to the one who believes in that. You know, you may have a belief system that says that the earth is flat, and that may not have any power in reality, but it sure does for you who believe that.
Right.
And forgive me if you believe the earth is flat, but I just, as an example, you know, just because whatever you believe is what you've made up, and it has a lot of power for you, even though it may not have power in reality. It has power for you because you believe it. Whatever you believe has power for you, even though it may not be true.
Right.
Okay.
You can believe the earth is round.
Yeah, exactly.
And it has power for you.
That's right. All right. Touché. All right. So the difference between these two thought systems, remember there's two thought systems here. One thought system was made up by you who wants to be the authority, who wants to be God. And then the other thought system is created by God, and it, you know, so it was created. Okay? And it is true, whether you believe it or not.
That's one thing that I forget what class we had not too long ago, but it was the first time for me since coming in the early part of 2017 to the course that I finally heard a distinction.
Mm-hmm.
There's making and there's creating.
Mm-hmm.
What we've been doing is making.
Making a thought system.
And what the difference in making and creating is, creating is eternal.
And
making is
God.
not eternal.
Right.
And what we've been making is a lie, an illusion, really a deception that has enough power to deceive ourselves.
Right.
And that's what we've made. But thankfully, making isn't eternal. And so what has been made will come to an end. That's the good news for me is, you know, it's not like, will I ever get it right? You know, we can't help but for the big illusion, for the lie to come crashing down, because it's not an eternal creation.
That's
it wasn't created.
And
there's only one creator, and that creator has to be at least co-involved in the creation, or it can't be created. It can only be made, which isn't real.
And whatever God has created is eternal. So whatever is made is not eternal, and it can be corrected, and it will end. And whatever has been created by God, by love, is eternal. So that's how you can tell the difference between what's real and what's not. What's been made versus what's been created. What's been made is something that you believe in and has power for you, but that doesn't mean it's true.
A belief system.
Exactly. Okay. And so both belief systems are cornerstones for systems of belief by which you live. Okay. So the what you believe is the cornerstone of belief by which you live. So your system of belief is what you believe. Your belief system is the cornerstone for systems of belief by which you live. Okay, so whatever you believe is what you live by. Whatever you believe. Whatever is your system of belief. What do you believe? That's what you live by. Yeah. And that's true for everybody.
You'll know if somebody's cornerstone
of belief
is that they think they're God, because they'll be like me. They have an opinion about everything.
Judgmental.
They think they know what's going on.
Always think they're right.
And, you know, they don't need to ask anybody.
No.
Because, you know, I can just hear this story and
know what it means.
Just common sense. If you had any smarts, you know, if you could have an IQ above, you know, dumb, then you would know, like me, that
he's right.
This is how the situation or matter should be handled. Just natural thinking would tell you that.
And that is a belief system that has been made by us, that has great power for us, but isn't true. Because the cornerstone of our belief system is that we're God, that we're the authority, and we know how to judge correctly.
You know, we hear the story about the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and that they were accused of the blind leading the blind. And I realized as Anna was reading this in the car that could have been said about Greg. The Sadducees and the Pharisees was just anybody. Anybody that has an opinion of how things are. And the Sadducees and the Pharisees are symbols of people that are very opinionated.
And that are judging.
They know how things are. I know. Come to me. Anna and I aren't asking you to come to us. We're all coming together to the author of this curriculum. But, you know, that's what a lot of, again, our upbringings are, is that anybody esteeming as if they know, you know, setting themselves in a position of I know what's going on. I know what's happening.
I know enough to judge.
Yeah. I'm pretty all-knowing, knowledgeable.
So we think, and that is at the foundation of our belief system, and we live by that belief system, that we are the authority, that we are God, and that we can judge, and that we can decide what things mean, and what should happen, and on and on. Okay, so it says, it is a mistake to believe that a thought system which is based on lies is weak. So don't think that just because your belief system is based on a lie, that your belief system is weak for you, right? So just because what you believe is untrue doesn't mean that it's not powerful for you. You know, I can believe very powerfully in ideas that aren't true. Obviously, we all can. Right. You know, believe things that aren't true and believe them with all of our heart and soul. Okay? So, in other words, whatever you believe, even if it's based on a lie, it's not, that belief is not weak for you.
And our bodies are evidence of that.
That's right. And nothing, and the reason is because nothing made by a child of God is without power. And so it is essential, absolutely essential, that we realize that nothing that we make is without power, because if we don't understand that whatever we make has power for us, we won't understand why we have so much trouble with this course, and we will be unable to escape from the prison we have made for ourselves unless we realize that nothing made by a child of God is without power for that child of God. So, you know, if you don't understand that whatever somebody believes has great power for them, if you don't understand that, you will have a lot of trouble with this course, and you won't be able to escape the prison you've made for yourself.
Yeah, what I hear this saying in part is, once in a while the course gets down and dirty with us, you know, just because right out the gate it got right in our personal space and really got honest with us. And this sentence right here that you just read, that says so much. It is absolutely essential that we realize this. We can't just read this and mosey on over to the next 5 paragraphs and keep reading. If we don't get this part, then we might as well stop reading. It's essential that we realize that everything the child of God does through their beliefs, through their thoughts, has great power. It really does have power.
To them.
Yeah, to them.
To them.
And that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an aspect of God that power is being omitted onto.
Right.
And so that, unless we recognize that, realize this as it says, then what is the result? Because otherwise you will not be able to understand why you have so much trouble with this course. For those that are having trouble with the course, you need to realize that every thought that you have is powerful.
And that's right.
Even
for
if
you.
it's not true.
That's right. Exactly.
Every thought has power.
And until you realize that there are no neutral thoughts, and every thought does produce form at some level, and that thoughts are powerful for the believer, then you won't be motivated to look at your thoughts and to choose once again what thoughts you want to be thinking. You won't have the motivation to look at your belief system to go, is this something that I want to keep believing? Is this working for me? If you don't understand the power of your thoughts and your beliefs, then you won't be motivated to question your beliefs. Mm-hmm. And to look at them to go, I don't know if I want to keep believing that thought. In other words, the Course in Miracles says you're much too tolerant of mind wandering because you don't realize that every thought you have is producing form at some level. Mm-hmm. You don't realize that your thoughts have power. And so you're just letting your mind think whatever stupid, meaningless, mean, lacking ego thoughts, whatever, without questioning any of them. The Course says you are much too tolerant of mind wandering because you don't understand that every one of your thoughts is powerful. It's producing form at some level. And until you understand how powerful your thoughts are, then you're going to have trouble with this course. You know, you're not going to want to do what this course advocates doing, which is looking at your thoughts to see what it is that you are producing.
This is such a perfect lesson for me tonight. For those that know me very well, know that I love to play poker. And I was playing poker last week, and I told Anna I was being really serious this week, and I wasn't, wanting to socialize so much. I just really wanted to focus on the game. And poker, you got 8 other players and a dealer at the table, and you got cocktail waitresses coming by. You got a lot of commotion. You got people at other tables, and you got tons and tons of opportunities to express your thoughts. And there's several people at any given table where I was just doing this last week, literally. So that's why I love this lesson. Is they would do something at the table, whether it was something they said or act the way they acted or whatever, that I'd go, what an idiot. And then
that's what you were thinking.
And I was thinking.
Right.
I didn't say it, but just the thought. And
because
Spirit had already been working with me on something else prior to this, I was actually, you know, watching my thoughts. That's what this course is about, is mind training, meaning to learn to watch your thoughts. Not what you're saying or doing or what time of day you wake up
or what everybody else is doing.
But what are your thoughts? That's where all the work is, all the discipline is. And then I recognized quite quickly that I just did that. I just released out there, what an idiot. And so my request from heaven, from the angels, from the windows of heaven to be abundantly showered back to me of my planting, what I planted, I'm gonna produce back in my experience, which is what an idiot. So somehow somebody's gonna look at me doing something and perceive that I'm being a total idiot. Now, was it true that this other person was an idiot?
No.
You know, no.
Nor is it true that you're an idiot.
Exactly.
But
that's the lesson. That's the lesson we're having to learn. We just haven't connected the dots yet. Now, what's powerful about, I don't know that we're going to touch on this in here, but I knew that just because I did that, my awareness is that I released that, and I quickly went, my brother, you're not an idiot. I retract what I said, and I just realized I don't want that. I don't want that for this person, and I don't want it for me.
Right.
I see our shared interest the same.
Yeah.
The teacher of God recognizes our interest is the same.
Yes.
And so that's the good news, is when we're watching our thoughts, it doesn't mean we're not going to slip up, but we can correct it right there. And then we're retracting our request that was sent out with this big, you know, eraser into the universe, and replanting a seed that we do want in its place.
Yes.
And learning to do that and do that and do that. And soon, believe it or not, you'll start connecting the dots to that harvest.
That's right. And that's why it's so essential that we understand how much power our thoughts have over our experience.
Yes.
Because if you don't recognize that your thoughts have power, then you'll let mean thoughts just go on by and produce mean results. You know, so it's essential, like Greg was saying, that the big part of this Course in Miracles is learning how to, like Bridget said, mind your mind. That's what Bridget said, mind your mind.
Like that. Mind your mind.
And,
perfect.
And I love it. And then Bridget says that when she notices that she has had an ego thought, that she says, cancel. You hear people say that, cancel, cancel. Cancel, cancel.
Yeah, cancel.
Cancel. But I like, you know, what we're learning in the Course is when you notice that you have just given power to a thought you really don't want to give power to, then you can put out another thought that does cancel it, that says, you know, my brother who is one with me, I appreciate you and I'm grateful, or whatever, some kind of loving thought, where you're acknowledging that you and that person are one, and that you wish them only well.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
You know, that's
if you're
how
having a bad day, I wish you only joy.
Exactly.
Instead of being pissed off and wishing them,
that's right.
You know, that they triple that chair on the way out.
Right. My brother or sister who are one with me, I wish for you only the peace and joy that I wish for myself.
Yeah.
That we are both entitled to as equal children of God. You know, when you, that's a thought too, and that has even greater power because it's true and it's loving.
And I kind of wonder, like if I did that to you, I threw out the
what an idiot thought.
That kind of energy.
Right.
And then you pull out the sword of love and slice it with
love.
Instead of instead of, you know, an attack thought back, you were getting that fast and that quick. I can't wait to get to that point. That before the thought can even take rise, and I release it in my mind, what an idiot, I've already, you know, fully recognized that's so far away from what I want.
Right. And you've already now put out the opposite thought, which does cancel out.
That I'm wondering, it seemed like it would also cancel out what they threw out.
Right. I would agree.
Into the net.
I would agree.
You know. Well, it certainly didn't add to it. So.
And until we understand how much power our thoughts have, then we won't be able to escape from the prison we have made for ourselves.
That's why I said that sentence is so important.
Yeah.
We will not. Do we like this prison we built called Planet Learning Station, Flying Rock? Well, we're gonna be unable to escape the prison that we made.
That we made with our thoughts, with our
belief system.
The prison we have made with our powerful thoughts. Right? Would you be willing to let us, Chloe, out? She's scratching on the door.
Sure, baby.
Thanks, honey.
I would love to.
I would love to do that.
Come on, Chloe. You gentle creature.
Yes.
You're not annoying animal. Come here.
She was scratching on the pantry door. She wants more food. I thought she was scratching on the front door. All right. Well, moving right along. So then it says, you have made the error of the psychotherapist we described in some detail before. Yet you cannot resolve, okay, by the way, there's a lot of this that was edited out. So what I'm about to read here will be in the edited version of what I'm about to read will be in the original edition, but not the edited. So it says here, yet you cannot resolve the authority problem by depreciating the power of your mind. Okay, so that is in there somewhere. So you can't say, well, I'm going to resolve my authority problem by just saying my mind doesn't have power anyway. You know, I'm just a powerless, helpless person anyway. It doesn't matter what I think. You can't resolve your authority problem issue by just saying, well, it don't matter what I think. You can't do that. And that's because the authority problem can hurt you if you misuse, the power of your mind can hurt you if you misuse the power of your mind. Why? Because you know your mind's strength, which means you also know that you cannot weaken your mind's strength any more than you can weaken God. So by playing powerless and by thinking that your thoughts don't have any power, that is not the answer to the authority problem that we have. So because the truth is that you can't weaken your mind any more than you can weaken God. Why? Because your mind came from God, so your mind can't ever be weak. And you can perceive your mind as weak because you're afraid of your thoughts, but you can't ever make your mind weak. You can't ever make your mind not powerful, because your mind was created by God, who cannot be weakened. So then somewhere in here it talks about how that we don't want to believe that our thoughts have power because we're afraid of our thoughts. We know the kind of mean, nasty, angry, small-minded, jealous, competitive, mean thoughts that we have. Of course, as your mind is full of mean thoughts. And so we deny the real power of our thoughts because we are afraid. We know the kinds of thoughts that we have, the mean thoughts we have. And so we're just like, well, my mind doesn't have any power, you know, to do anything. And so that's why we try to diminish the real power of our mind, and we try to see our minds as impotent, as weak, because we don't want our ego thoughts to have power. I'm afraid of my thoughts. I don't want my thoughts to have power, so I choose to see my mind as impotent. But this is saying here that you cannot weaken your mind any more than you can weaken God. Your mind will never lack power. Your thoughts will never lack power to manifest. Loudest eating that ever was, of course. Okay, y'all. All right. So, okay, everybody. Settle down. Okay, that was paragraph 3. And then I think Bridget was saying something about her dad playing poker. What was she saying?
Well, first of all, she said she wants to learn to play poker.
Oh, yes.
Which I would love to teach you how to play poker.
And then, yes, thank you, Tricia. My mom says I hate, and I say out loud, we don't hate, we love. Very good. And then Jerry says, my mind used to say that, but I had to get rid of an evil ancestor. Okay. And then,
and then Trisha's response, and yes, Jerry, it's taken me a year, and the battle is over.
Okay, wonderful. Okay.
All right.
All right. So the problem here, the goal here is not to just dismiss our minds as powerless. The goal here, in order to escape the prison we have made with our false thoughts, with our ego thoughts, is to recognize that our thoughts do have power. Thoughts do have power to the believer. Okay, so that we can increase our own motivation to mind our mind, as Bridget says, to look at our thoughts and choose them more wisely and more lovingly. It's like your example was perfect. You know, you were when you had a thought that somebody was an idiot, and then you remembered the power of your thought, and so that motivated you to choose differently your thought.
Yeah, see, I think, don't you agree that we kind of believe that because we didn't say it, like I didn't say he's an idiot,
right,
that I've done nothing wrong. Mm-hmm. All I did was have a thought.
Right, it's just a thought. I mean, I didn't say it out loud.
We don't realize that it's the thought. Mm-hmm. You know, when God created the heavens and the earth and all of creation, we're told that, and God saw the light, and it goes on to describe the rest of the creation like this, but God saw the light and saw that it was good. He didn't say it was good. Why? Because he was exercising his thoughts. His thoughts were, he saw that it was good. He didn't need to say it because the thought is where all the power is. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of programmed to believe, well, if I didn't say it, you know, I'm on safety bounds.
Right, no.
I'm at home plate. But you don't have to say it. It's not, you don't have to do the action. If you just have it in your heart, if you think it, then the action's already done. But that's why I like, I think it was Trish that said cancel or whatever.
Right, that was Bridget. And then Bridget says thoughts are things, exactly.
Yeah, thoughts are things. Yeah,
your thoughts have power, not what you verbally say. Would you want to take that can away from her? She is like... Chloe, my sweet dear, who was one with me. Okay. All of our dogs get really loud and noisy when it's time for class. Like, it's like they know. It's like they know. Okay. So you can't weaken your mind any more than you can weaken God. But what you can do is you can watch your thoughts more carefully and choose, once again, which belief system you want as your foundation. You know, that's the thing. You know, what belief system do you want as your foundation? Because whatever your belief system is, that is your foundation from which you will live. And if your belief system is based on a lie, which means it's based on guilt and shame and sin and separation, then you will, with your thoughts and with your mind, you will create a prison for yourself. If your thought system and that prison and you being a prisoner will have great power for you. You will believe that you are a prisoner that can't escape. If your belief system is based on something that isn't true, you will create a prison for yourself, and you will believe that you are a prisoner, and you will believe you can't escape it. That's the cost of believing a belief system that's based on what's not true, like guilt and sin and separation. All right. So, paragraph 4. The devil is a frightening concept only because the devil is thought of as extremely powerful and extremely active. The devil is perceived as a force in combat with God. Poor God. I hope God wins. The devil is perceived as battling God for the possession of souls. You ever heard that story? Mm-hmm. And the devil, remember, what is the devil? The devil is a frightening idea. The devil is a frightening concept. And notice the first 3 letters of that word concept, C-O-N, con. The devil is a concept, an idea, okay? Doesn't say the devil is a real thing. The devil is a concept, a frightening idea.
Yeah, like God is the symbol of a father, mm-hmm. but the father of love, of peace, of abundance, of wholeness. The devil is what? Always referred to as the father of lies. Mm-hmm. And so that's what the devil is the symbol of whatever is not true, whatever is a lie.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. A concept. The devil is a frightening idea. Mm-hmm. The devil is a frightening idea that there is something that opposes God and love and is battling God for possession of our souls. Okay. What a frightening concept. That there's this mean, angry thing that's not loving that has power enough to battle God in its desire to possess our souls. That is frightening.
Yeah. As if God is sitting there on his throne, which swivels, by the way, and goes, flank left, come on, right. Battleship right.
Right, exactly.
Like God's constantly in this war.
Embattled. Weak.
And the angels are coming back with scars, and, you know, Michael and his angels have really had to, you know, flank the troops this week.
Yeah, exactly.
But that is such a silly concept.
It's so
that
silly.
God would nothing could come to be without God, and whatever has come to be has now turned and become God's
more powerful
and a big army, because you'd have to have a big army to even have a possible chance at God. We're talking about God here,
right?
So the whole concept is so silly about that there's this battle, and we're told that there are battles, but it's not of fleshly. It's
an idea, concept.
It's spiritual warfare, and so that's in our minds.
And the devil is an idea that there is a force that is in combat with God, that has if something's in combat with God, doesn't that imply that it at least has an equal kind of power? Possibly even greater. So the devil is seen as a force that's fighting against God and that has power possibly over God enough to possess God's children. Okay, that's what the devil is. It's a frightening concept. Okay, and concept, an idea, and the devil idea deceives by lies, and the devil builds kingdoms of its own in which everything is in direct opposition to love or to God. So that's what the idea of the devil is about. It's powerful, it's forceful, it's fighting against God, and maybe it has enough power over God to abduct God's children, possess them, and the ego, the devil deceives by lies, and it builds its kingdom in complete opposition to everything that is God, which is loving.
And the devil, sometimes we're told appears as a light. And what is light but illumination, which is the symbol of knowledge? It unveils so you can see. That's what light does. And so the devil comes as light, in other words, as the interpreter of what's going on. I know what's going on here. I have an opinion about this.
I'm enlightened.
That person's an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anybody can see that. And so the devil comes as the appearance of knowledge, the appearance of being illuminated.
The appearance of God.
Yeah, the appearance of God. But why is it the devil? Because the devil is the symbol of a lie. And so the lie is that person's not an idiot. You don't have your facts straight. You can't even, you're the blind leading the blind, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what we're all doing, is the blind leading the blind through all of our thoughts that we're formulating through our own opinion, our own interpretation,
our own judgments.
Because we want to be God. We're sitting decreeing everything through our interpretation. And we think, well, if we don't do that, then what would be left of me if I'm not, judging and formulating opinions and deciding? I'm the decider of everything. Mm-hmm. What would be left of me? Well, a whole lot.
Happiness.
Yeah.
Happiness.
It would be like when we're clearing the creek down there and taking all the dead stuff out, which is all the beliefs, the misconcepts,
the lies,
and then all that's left is the beauty.
That's right.
Of nature.
Exactly.
What's natural.
So I was talking about the devil and saying how the devil deceives by lies, and the devil builds kingdoms of his own in which everything is in direct opposition to love and God. Yet the devil attracts men rather than repels them. And because men are attracted to the devil instead of being repelled, since people are attracted to the devil instead of repelled by the devil, then people are willing to quote sell the devil their souls in return for gifts that people know are of no real worth at all. And this makes absolutely no sense, that people would be willing, that people are attracted to the devil concept, that they're first attracted, and not only that people are attracted to the devil concept, but that they're willing to try to sell their souls.
Which is who they are.
Yeah, to get gifts that even these folks know are of no real value. If you were to ask any person anywhere, what is more valuable, your soul or power, fame, money, and physical pleasure? They'd all go, well, of course, your soul. Everybody knows that, that your soul is more valuable than everything of the world. But why is it that people are attracted to that devil concept and willing to try to sell their soul to the devil for things that are not worth more than one's soul?
Because in addition to all that, Johnny, what else do we got for them? They get to play God.
Right. That's why.
That's what attracts them.
Because that's what the devil's doing. The devil is the desire to usurp God's throne and be God. I want to be the decider. I want to be the one who knows everything and judges everyone as I would have them be, And so that is why people are attracted to the devil concept and are willing to try to sell their souls for things that are not worth more than their soul. Okay? That's why. And but it makes absolutely no sense to be attracted to the devil concept and to try to sell your soul to the devil. The Course in Miracles in a different section says you can't sell your soul. Thank God. You can try to sell your soul, the devil can offer you a good deal, like you can have all the power, fame, money, and physical pleasure in the world. If you just give me your soul, and you can go, all right, where do I sign? But you can't sell your soul. And now you cannot know your soul. You can think you've sold your soul, but the Course says you can't sell your soul because you didn't create your soul. God did. And since God created your soul, then you can't sell it. You can't separate it from yourself. So that's good news, by the way. You can't sell your soul. You can try to, and you cannot know your soul, but that's it. Now, it says, so the whole picture, the whole devil concept is a picture in which man acts in a way that man himself realizes is self-destructive, but which man does not will to correct. And so therefore people perceive the cause as beyond their control. Okay? So the whole concept of the devil is a whole thing where I realize that I am being self-destructive, but I don't have the willpower to correct that.
And the cause is the attraction.
Yes.
That I want to be the decision maker.
Yes, right.
I want to decide what's good, what's
God.
Bad in this story. I want to decide what the plans of the day should be.
Exactly.
I want to be the judge of this matter. I want to give an opinion. And I want it to be validated and respected.
That's right, honey. Absolutely. I love it. What Bridget says, people blame the devil because they don't want to be accountable. And then Demi says, movies on Netflix like Lucifer, as if it's cool to be bad. Sad. It's very true. There is a lot of what was known as Satanism. I mean, literally, there are people who that is their belief system, that is their religion. That's real, and it's based on lies. That belief system called Satanism and worshiping Lucifer, that is based on lies, but it has a lot of power to their believers, and it makes them want to do self-destructive things that they now seem to have no control over, okay? So that's the nature of the belief system in which the devil is real, okay? That's a belief system based on lies where you are attracted to self-destructive things and you feel like you have no control over your obsession with doing self-destructive things.
Like perhaps smoking.
Right.
Or
hurting others, or whatever, It's
overeating.
The devil is a thought system. It's a belief.
Destructive thought system.
And if you believed in this belief system that's based on lies, like there's a force that can oppose and win over God, if you believe that, then this belief system called the devil will have great power for you, and you will feel like it has power over you, which means you will feel compelled to do self-destructive things, and you'll feel like this urge to do self-destructive things or destructive to others is beyond your control. Now, does that sound like fun? I mean, that sounds like hell to me.
Right.
I'm obsessed with doing destructive things to me and others, and I feel like I have no power over this self-destructive urge. That sounds like hell. That's the prison that we have made for ourselves.
Well, and it also sounds impossible, doesn't it, that I could stop having opinions and judgments because it's so natural. I mean, how can I cooperate with the day or my week if I don't, protect myself with opinions and judgments?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what the devil thought system tells you. The devil thought system, the thought system that we've made, tells us if you don't judge and attack, then you are weak and people will take advantage of you and you won't have anything. That's that thought system. Remember, there's a thought system that we made, and there's a thought system that was created by God. And the thought system we made is the ego thought system, the devil thought system that says, it's either kill or be killed.
I need to defend myself so I'm not vulnerable.
Exactly.
And I defend myself with my judgment.
And attack.
And opinions.
Attack thoughts.
Giving out guilt.
Anger. Exactly.
Trying to control.
Exactly. Which leads you to making a prison from your own beliefs that you feel, you'll perceive that you can't escape. All right. So then it says, then we're going to start paragraph 5, which in the blue book is going to be paragraph 6. We have discussed the fall or separation before, but the fall or the separation's meaning must be clearly understood without symbols. Okay, so we're going to look at it directly. Why? Because the separation is not symbolic. The separation is an order of reality, or the separation or the fall is a system of thought. So the separation or the fall from grace that we've all heard about is a system of thought, which is perfectly real in time, though not in eternity. In other words, and that's because all beliefs are real to the believer. That's why all your beliefs have power to you, the believer, even if they're not true. That's why you can believe what's not true, and it can seem to have great power over you, even though it's not true. Because all beliefs are real to the believer, which means all beliefs have power over the believer. Okay? So that's what the separation and the fall is. It's just a thought system that seems real and powerful to us, but is not true. Okay? That's what the fall is. Okay? And then paragraph 6 or 7. The fruit of only one tree was, quote, forbidden to man in the symbolic Garden of Eden. But God could not have forbidden this tree, or this tree and the fruit could not have been eaten if God had forbidden it.
Yeah, if God really forbids something,
you
can't
do
break
it.
Through that barrier.
You can't. If God wants to forbid something, you won't be able to do it. It's so obvious when you say it out loud.
Yeah.
But until you say it out loud or hear it like this, then you're like.
Yeah, till you hear yourself even say
right.
it. God forbids something.
Right.
But
we could still do it.
We did it anyway.
We could still do it. God could forbid that, and then we are able to
so
eat and do it.
I guess God wasn't that powerful.
Exactly. I guess God's.
We're more powerful than God. He forbid something and we did it.
See, I guess that. See.
I am God.
There you go.
Case closed.
Case closed, and that's it. That's why the Course says that we have one problem that says that the authority problem is the source of all our problems, because all of our problems stem from the belief that we created ourselves, that we are God, and that we can judge just fine. All of our problems stem from our authority problem. He says, you think it's often said that money is the root of all evil. The Course says, no, the authority problem is the root of all evil. It's the desire to be God, that the idea of the devil came into being. Mm-hmm. That's where, and what do they say about Lucifer? That Lucifer, wanted to be equal to God, and so that's how, that's the belief system that caused the fall or the separation. The I want to be God, that I am God, I created myself, I'm self-creating. Okay, that is the idea that produced the so-called fall or separation, the fall from grace. There's many different names for it. The being kicked out of the Garden of Eden, and so it says, if God knows God's children, and I assure you God knows his children, would God have put God's children in a position where their own destruction was possible? Question mark. The tree which was forbidden was correctly named, quote, the tree of knowledge, unquote. Yet God created knowledge, and God gave knowledge freely to all of God's creations. So, so it wasn't like God was like, this knowledge is for me. This saying God created knowledge and gave it freely to all of God's creations. God wasn't like, this is my knowledge, not yours. Okay? That wasn't God. That is something else. Now, the symbolism here is open to many interpretations, but you may be sure that any interpretation which perceives either God or God's creations as if they were capable of destroying their own purpose is wrong. That's a lie. Mm-hmm. So anything that attributes to God this like jealousy, greediness with knowledge, that's wrong. That is a false interpretation of God, a false interpretation of knowledge, completely.
Like if you went to one of your parents and asked them something, that they would sit there and go, well, I better not tell little Johnny this, because then I think at this point they know everything that I know.
And I don't want my child to be equal to me.
I don't want my child to know everything that I know.
Yeah, I always want to know more.
That could be threatening. What if they surpass me?
Mm-hmm. And kick me off the throne.
Any normal parent would gladly want their child to know whatever they came to ask them to know about.
Every loving and wise, healthy parent wants their child to not only have all their knowledge, but to surpass them in their knowledge.
This is just common sense 101.
Absolutely.
I mean, if God knows his children, and I assure you he does, mm-hmm. Would God have put his own children, would you put your children in a position mm-hmm. that would lead to their own destruction? No.
No.
This is just all so common sense.
That total common sense.
Yeah, and I think the tree that was, correctly named the tree of knowledge, the knowledge is going to be learned here in learning school. There is no knowledge outside of God. Yeah. But God's not hiding any knowledge from us either. Right. But there isn't any extra knowledge to be found out there.
And there's no knowledge that God hasn't given freely to all of God's creations. God, the God that we learn about in A Course in Miracles is like, whatever I have is yours. God doesn't have any secrets. God doesn't have any knowledge that God keeps to God's self. Whatever God has or is exactly what God gives to all of God's creations equally and alike forever for free, no conditions. So whatever notion, whatever interpretation of God that has God being greedy and possessive and paranoid, and or any interpretation of God,
offended.
Or any interpretation of God where God would set up a situation where God's creations could be destroyed. That is a misinterpretation about God. So that's what he's saying. Just want you to know this is what God is like, and anything that has God being, psychopathic, setting his creations up to be destroyed.
That's not even a smart God.
That's not even a smart God. That's a dumb God.
Look at God created a creation which the majority of it just self-destroyed it.
Yeah, and so that would mean God was a pretty dumb creator.
Wow, that wasn't very good results.
Wow, I need to go. Yeah, exactly.
Do we have any other options?
We got to go back to the drawing board. I created a creation that's extremely vulnerable.
Just because I put this one little tree
in the middle of the garden.
Oh, the tree of knowledge.
What could go wrong? So I love that line where it says, the one thing, the symbolism here is open to many interpretations, but you may be sure that any interpretation which perceives either God or God's creations as if they were capable of destroying their own purpose is wrong. That's a misinterpretation. Eating of the tree of knowledge is a symbolic expression for incorporating into the self the ability for self-creation. That's what eating of the fruit of the eating of the tree of knowledge. It's a metaphor for the illusion of the ability to self-create.
Self-create, like we create ourselves, and self-create, we can make an opinion or judgment without God's input. Because we're God. We don't need God.
Exactly. I'm God.
I'm God enough.
That's right. I'm God-like.
Yeah.
Or God-light.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's what that symbolism really is about. That symbol of the eating of the tree of knowledge is a metaphor for I want to be God. So I'm like, biting of the apple, which is what God knows, and the power of God.
And I have this image in my head of us as children. That's what we're behaving as, little children. And we're going, hey, come over here, God. I found some knowledge that it was kept from you. Look at this knowledge that I found. This person here is an idiot. And we think we found knowledge that is outside of the scope of God's knowledge. And we're trying to present it with now our evidence, to back up the claim to our knowledge.
Yes.
And God doesn't even need to defend against it because truth, reality
needs no defense.
Needs no defense and needs no evidence.
Because what's true is not weak.
Right.
But what is false, which is the belief system we have made ourselves where we are God, that is false. That is a thought system based on false ideas, and it is weak. But not to us. To us it has great power in our perception, but in reality it's weak. And it says, and this is the only sense in which God and us are not co-creators. So the only sense in which us and God are not co-creators is that God created us, but we didn't create God. So God came first. God is the original author.
Now we know whether the egg or the chicken came first.
Right.
God came first.
Exactly. And that's the only sense in which we and God are not co-creators. So we are co-creators with God, but not in the sense that we created God also. No. We are co-creators with God in that we create like God, and we create in the manner of our own creation, which is extending love. Okay? That's how God creates. That's how we create. That's how we are co-creators with God. But the belief that that God created us and that we created God, that is implicit in the, quote, self-concept, which is what a concept now made acceptable by its weakness and explained by a tendency of the self to make an image of itself. So me usurping the throne of God is me making my own image of myself. See, I've made myself. And this is what I've made myself to be. This is what I am. That's me usurping the throne of God, wanting to be God and create myself. Okay. And it says, now, this self-concept that we've made, where this tendency of ourself to make an image of ourself and think that's us, its fear aspect is usually ascribed to the father figure, a particularly interesting idea in view of the fact that nobody means the physical father by the term father figure. Father figure, or self-concept, father figure refers to an image of a father in relation to an image of the self. Paragraph 8. Once again, images are perceived, not known. Knowledge cannot deceive, but perception can. In other words, you can perceive yourself as self-creating, but you cannot do more than believe it. Which means you cannot make it true that you are self-creating. And I told you before that when you finally perceive correctly, you can only be glad that you can't create yourself. When you finally do see correctly, you will thank God that you couldn't create yourself.
I think that saying it mildly, that you'll be glad, it'd be like comparing to, having been in solitary confinement in a prison forever.
Yeah.
Just like your eye surgery, thinking that's how it's always going to be.
Exactly.
And then you had this eye surgery and realized,
it didn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to be that way. When I see myself correctly, that I don't have the task and the burden of having to figure out what's going on, of looking for knowledge in all the wrong places. When I can just be joined with my Creator and have all knowledge. Nothing be hidden from me.
In other words, it's a burden to try to know what you don't know.
Right.
It's a burden to try to be God and to try to
make up knowledge.
Exactly. To make it up and it's a burden to feel like, that you need to know what everything means and to know what is always going on and to know what you should always be doing and to know what they, really should be doing. That's a burden.
It is.
And you're wrong. Not only is it a burden, but you're also going to be wrong.
Yeah.
So you're going to be exhausted and wrong, whereas you could be like, well, I don't know. I'm not God. I'm not the author. But I could say, hey, God, what's the truth about this situation? What's the truth about me? What's the truth about them? And receive all knowledge. No burden. And you get to be right. It's easy and you get to be right. Because you're not seeing yourself as God. You're not going to yourself as the source of knowledge and truth. The ego thought system is where you go to yourself as the authority, like I know enough to judge. Okay? But that really puts a burden on you and you're always wrong. So, whereas you could say, well, I don't know because I'm not the author of reality And so I don't know what this means, and I don't know what I should do, and I don't know what your reality is, and I don't know what's really needed here, but I can ask the one who does know. And here now I have no pressure, no exhaustion, and I get to be right because I didn't see myself as the author of reality. And every time we're judging, every time you're judging or every time you have an attack thought, you are assuming the right to judge someone else's reality as you see fit, as if you created them. That's what judgment is.
Yep.
I'm assuming that I have the right to judge your reality as I see fit because I created you. That's what judgment is.
Well, because I have the tree of knowledge. I
Yeah,
have knowledge.
because I have knowledge. And I created myself.
Let me give you a demonstration of it.
Yeah. And the Course even says that we're so insane that we think that we know better than God, and we're so insane that if God doesn't agree with and sanction what we've declared is the reality, then God must be wrong.
Right.
That's how insane we are.
Yeah, I'll just find a different religion.
Exactly.
That agrees with me.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Or I'll become an atheist. Or whatever. But, all right. So then it says, it says, you can perceive yourself as self-creating, as having all knowledge. You can see yourself as if you are God, but you cannot do more than believe that you are self-creating. You cannot make it true that you are self-creating. And I told you before that when you finally perceive correctly, you can only be glad that you cannot create yourself. But until you be glad and see correctly that you cannot create yourself, the belief that you can create yourself is the central foundation stone in your thought system, and all your defenses will be used to attack ideas which would bring this false thought system to the light. You still believe that you are an image of your own creation, okay? Which means you are split with your own spirit on this point. And there is no resolution because you believe the one thing that is literally inconceivable, which is that you are an image of your own creation, that you are God.
And even though it's literally inconceivable, in other words, true, the key is we believe it.
That's right.
That we're an image of our own creation.
And that's why there is no resolution until we correctly perceive that we did not create ourselves and that we cannot create ourselves and be glad about that. Until we see that happy resolution, we will perceive that there's no escape from the prison that we have made. The prison that we have made is the thought system based on lies that we think is true, and we're trying to make true, that is not true, and that sees us as self-creating and also very weak. So, now, then it says, since you believe the one thing that is literally inconceivable, which is that you created yourself, that is why you cannot create, and which means that is why you are afraid to make or produce. So if you're believing that you can create yourself, which is the one inconceivable thing, then now you're not going to be able to truly create or produce. Create, make, or produce.
Now, if you asked any of us, just sat down at a luncheon and said, did you create yourself? Of course, any of us would say, well, no. But our actions are demonstrating demonstrating a belief system. And the truth is we do believe that because our actions are performing in a way that demonstrates that we do believe that we are the creator, because we are the judge, we are the opinion maker, we're the decision maker, we're the decider. And I love how it said at the beginning of this, knowledge cannot deceive. What's true knowledge, you know, hey God, come over here, look, I found some knowledge that you're unfamiliar with, this idiot here. Well, that's not knowledge. What that is something that's deceiving. And who is it deceiving? Is it deceiving God? Of course not. It's only deceiving me. And how am I being deceived? It says knowledge cannot deceive, but perception can. I was allowing myself to look out onto the tapestry of the world that I'd made, by the way, and now exercise an act as if I'm God. I'm going to make a decree on this person, a judgment, they're an idiot, even though I didn't say it, because I thought it, and until I caught it with awareness. Before awareness came along, it would have just floated on along, demonstrating fully that I think that I'm God. Of course anybody would recognize that person's an idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, did you see how they were acting? Did you hear what they said? I mean, really? In public? And so, you know, we have all of our ammunition, all of our lies, all of our evidence, our lies, our stilts, holding this foundation together. You know, all of our rebar in the foundation, holding it together. But perception, we think that's knowledge. We think perception is greater than God. And perception is just, again, something that we made as well, which is adding to helping us think we have knowledge. Here, take some perception. Here, add some what you heard. And what did that smell? And what did that feel like? Okay, now you have all the evidence.
Now you have knowledge.
Now you have knowledge from your tree of knowledge. Yeah, with all of its many branches.
That's right. We think our perception is knowledge, and we defend our perceptions as if our perceptions are knowledge.
As if it is knowledge.
Exactly. All right. Well, we're going to stop here for this evening, and we've pretty much covered what it says in the last 3 paragraphs. So the last 3 paragraphs is just really saying the same thing again. So we'll stop here, and we hope that this has been helpful in moving past a belief system based on the lie that you created yourself, to adopting a thought system where you were created and given all knowledge by your creator for free. Now, and that thought system produces not a prison that you feel like you can't escape. That belief system that says, I did not create myself, but that that which created me has given me everything it is, including all knowledge, that belief system produces a world where you feel free and supported and safe and abundant. So 2 different thought systems which produce 2 different worlds. There are, the different worlds that are there to be experienced are coming from the 2 different thought systems that we are basing our belief system on and living by. So there is another world that we could see, because there's another thought system that was created that we can accept if we want to. And that's the good news.
Just lay down all of our opinions and our judgments, and as you said, Spirit, what does this mean? What am I looking at?
Exactly. Remember, I'm not the author of reality. It's a real simple practice. When you when you find yourself being tempted to judge, just remembering I'm not the author of reality, so I don't know what the truth is about them, or I don't know the truth about myself. You know, we're all of our problems come from our own judgments, but we wouldn't be judging ourselves if we realized that we can't judge ourselves because we did not create ourselves. So if I'm not the author of my reality, then I can't go by my judgment of myself. Not only can I not judge accurately others, but I also can't accurately judge myself because I didn't create myself. I'm going to have to go to the one who created me to find out what is the truth about me, you know, and stop judging as if I know.
Right, and then watch your experience change.
That's right. Watch your world change.
Watch your world change.
Yeah. All right, you guys, you are so awesome. Thanks for joining in this healing circle. And thank you for sharing this on thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing on YouTube. If you'd like to support these ideas going out to the world and or sharing it on your Facebook feed. We appreciate you guys. You're awesome.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.